to shuffle in if that makes it easier, or I can keep doing this. This is what you've done in times of week. Yes. Constantly turning. How did we all enjoy the show this afternoon? Isn't it so beautiful? Happy Pride Month.
Yes!
I wouldn't have been here this afternoon watching, but I'm trying to plan a gay wedding, which feels appropriate. There's a reason for not being here. But I'm here now to talk about the evolution of the show and its design with Jordan and Andrew here as well. Round of applause for both of them. Jordan, I'm going to give you another minute to breathe after just doing all of that.
I need to breathe from just crying.
Yeah. We've spoken a handful of times, but I've never had the chance to ask you, because I talk a lot to actors and creatives. I'm really curious about how you get inspired to be a scenic designer and where that came from, and to do that in theatre specifically.
Why do that? So I'm from Birmingham, and in Birmingham, big up. And in Birmingham there's a college called BOA, which is, it's like the Brit School, it's the sisters of the Brit School. And there they do a technical theatre course where you can basically from like 16 study stage management, lighting, sound, costume, makeup, whatever. And I kind of ended up going there and studying stage management, thinking this would be for me, to which I'm sure frankly the stage manager on this is like, imagine me being a stage manager. But I sort of thought that would be the thing, and then, I don't know really, I sort of became a bit obsessed with art, and my teachers of art were trying to get me to go to art school. My drama teacher was trying to get me to become an actor, and there was like no one like gelling that together. So yeah, I guess it just sort of spiraled from there, and then I went to Rosebery and blah, 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 blah. But like, yeah, I guess in my practice I'm a set and lighting designer, so basically I'll do any jobs they don't give me for money. But yeah, that's singing.
And Jordan, the industry first met you as an actor in so many brilliant shows. You've gone on this amazing journey to being one of very few people to entirely write a show. Music, lyrics, and book. And we've spoken about this before, but you could tell us maybe a little bit about what inspired you to want to do that and to take that step.
Yeah. Basically, it all started because I'm actually very opinionated. And I think my husband was just getting sick of me constantly saying how I would change things when I was going to see shows. And he was like, I think you should just write something. So this was like 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago. And then I knew I wanted to tell a true story, because those are always the pieces that I'm most drawn to. And also I really wanted to explore an LGBTQ+ story, because it's not really anything that I often get to explore in my work as an actor. I'm usually cast as the Lothario that breaks all women's hearts. So I wanted to maybe tap into something a bit closer to me. And my partner's from Bristol, and I just went down to the Bristol Museum and I asked the lady working in the museum if she had any LGBT stories from history. And she said, we actually found something just this week. Let me bring it out to you. And it was a document that had been just sitting in the archives and they'd only just discovered it. And it was about these two men, and it detailed the day that they were hanged, and how they refused to apologize, and how Richard kissed William's hand in front of everybody, hundreds of people, and that they were launched into eternity. And so it was just this paragraph, and it like just moved me so much, imagining the strength that you would have in that time to be able to do that. And that's kind of where it all started from. And then I went home and I just wrote a song and showed it to my partner, and he was like, this is really good, keep going. And it just evolved into this obsession that just became a massive passion project for me. And I think for the first 3 or 4 months, I wasn't even writing it with the intention that it would maybe even make it to the stage in a fully fleshed out production, but it was more just a creative passion that I was exploring. And then it all just spiraled from there, and we're here. So it's just like my heart in the space, basically, I guess. That's how I would describe it. Yeah.
So amazing.
So I saw the show for the first time, workshop version, downstairs at the Young Palace, and it was just yourself and the company telling this story, and then it makes its way to the stage. But as a singular writer, I'm curious as to whether you had some kind of vision of like, and I imagine it might look something like this, then you start to work with a set designer who's saying, actually it's going to look like this. And I'm curious about the collaboration and the early conversations between the two of you. I'm going to give you this, Eric.
Are you sure? Yeah, no, Jordan and I have worked together a few times with Jordan as a performer, and he kept talking about this musical. So I saw the first workshopping that you did at the Turbine. That was the first one, right? And then, and then I saw at the other Palace, and we kept kind of talking then about ideas that you were then writing into the script, and like we would have these kind of like we'd sit and have a drink or whatever and talk about it, and you'd be like, and I think I'm going to put like rain into the script, and then I'm going to put this thing into the script, and I was like, okay. And I was like, this will never happen, so it's fine. And then suddenly you were like, hey, we're doing it, so get the rain. Which we're still working on. But really it's that, and I think actually what's really special about this as a thing is you, as a designer, you end up doing quite a lot, I think, of like revivals. And what's Howard, a lighting designer who I admire a lot, said to me when I was taking this piece, he was like, you just have to, it's the holy grail, it's a new musical. And he's totally right, like, I think, you know, you see so many productions and kind of no one in this room could sit and go, I preferred that version of Regent's Park, or I preferred it when they did it at Leicester Curve, do you know what I mean? So it's really special that you kind of get to originate that and work out what that is, and it's also incredibly daunting, I guess. But we kind of went through a series of designs for it, and when our incredible director, Paul Foster, came on board, we went through that process again. And when you're doing it with a new musical, you get the kind of ability to be able to write some of that into the script and use the water or the tactility of water and things like that you don't get to do, you know, when it's a second arrive with Hello Dolly or something. You can't adjust that script. Yeah. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just I guess like we did have those conversations about Andrew being on board quite early on. So this around the second workshop, which was like 2 years ago, and so we have had this constant dialogue. And I mean, like Andrew even like designed the first poster that we put out like 2 years ago, and so we've always kind of spoken about what the world would look like, and Andrew's just managed to climb into my brain and like make this happen and come up with something that even I can imagine. And I think what's really exciting is the possibilities with the show. Like, hopefully there's future life after Southwark Playhouse, and what could that look like on a bigger stage? And it feels like the show, there's kind of no limitations to what you could do with it. It could be this epic, big, grand scale thing, or it could still stay intimate, but just be slightly enhanced in ways. And I think that's what me and Andrew have always kind of discussed, is like the endless possibilities with REDCLIFFE, yeah.
You've preempted one of my questions brilliantly, because Aaron, my partner, said, ask about the transfer. And I was curious whether there are some ideas in your mind about like things like, well, if we then go somewhere like this, we could incorporate this, because you joke about the rain. You haven't been minimally ambitious here. There's a water feature on this stage, which I've never seen before at Southwark Playhouse. At what point did you, and with what conviction do you go, yeah, I can make that happen in a Southwark Playhouse way?
You sort of just have to say it, and then hope that everyone else on the show goes, yeah, okay. and then they look back at you and you're like, so how do we do it? And then what's brilliant is James, our production manager, does always just say yes. And he's done a water show in here before, actually. I think there was one with like a shower, don't tell Jordan, but there was one with like a shower or something. Afterglow. And he production managed that, and I was like, he does water, so we're having him. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's gone now, but yeah, I think you have to go with those ideas. And also, that wasn't really the idea that was killing me. Anyone on the show would say that this like plastic bin bags was literally killing me throughout this whole process. And we'd do every tech session on lunchtime. I'd be like, let's try the plastic again, it wouldn't work. And then we'd try silk, and it wouldn't work. Were you about to say something about the bin bags?
I watched you on press night, watch that. I could feel the tension. And then it happened, you're like, okay, it's fine.
It is literally that though, because you're like, it's literally 4 fans and a bit of plastic, and James, our amazing ASM, pressing a button that drops it.
You're supposed to be selling the show to people who are at home watching this video. Plastic bin bags and fans.
It's this like really high tech, authentically from Bristol.
What did it achieve?
it achieves is beautiful.
You did.
Yes.
No, I think I'm really proud of it because it was something that we just kept R&D and trying, and it was kind of the epitome of all of what I love about doing fringe theatre is that you really can only spend like £2.50, and so you do have to work out how to do something that someone would do in the West End for £2.50. Like it just is that, and so that's one of those things, and it starts with me in my studio. With my assistant Ethan, and we're like hanging up bits of plastic in the studio and turning fans on, like domestic fans, and dropping it and working out if it will work. That's the joy of doing things in spaces like this. This is why I love Solar Playhouse so much, because it's so limiting and opens so many possibilities.
I feel like a lot of the design in this space for this production is things that look really beautiful when they come together, and then you notice what's actually making it happen. Because I walked in here on press night, and I thought all of this around the outside, I was like, oh, we've got like video screen happening, and it's light behind a sort of a translucent fabric. But the effect that comes across, it's really striking what you managed to achieve, and it's innovation rather than having any kind of money in a more intimate space. I have an audience question. Has anyone seen a different show in this room before, prior to this afternoon? A few people.
Yeah.
What were the shows that you've seen?
Frog.
Yeah, so completely different, sort of still three sides of the audience, but the other way around. Because that's Ken Rex. So in a corner, I was curious because I hadn't seen. I think the last time it was in this exact configuration that I saw something here might have been in the Heights years ago. Because this room can do so many different things. At what point did you make the decision? Who made the decision? This is how
We didn't. We were told.
Paul Taylor Mills was like, so we're going to do it in this configuration because it's the way that you can get the most seats in. And that's it, and it went on sale, and we had no choice. And so then it was us working out how to create the set around it, which is kind of a good thing, because then we didn't have to and ah about which configuration to go for, but we had no choice. And it worked out well. And then, and that's the truthful answer.
So thoughtful, meaningful, artistic conversations that went into that one.
Yeah.
Good. Is there anything that you would, if there were to be a future production at a different venue, at a bigger venue somewhere else, is there anything else that you have in mind to include for the show in a way that you would like to see it grow from a design point of view?
You say rain.
Yeah, rain is something that I've always. Well, you know, it was like even like from the very first draft, I like the end of the first act. My dream is for one day we're in a place on a stage with a budget that would allow it to feel like they are in a full storm, however that looks. You know, some rain crazy wind machines. Like I want that to be like such an epic moment. So that is definitely something I would love at some point. I love this set design, and I think it would just be enhancing it. And I think we've already discussed like how far you could go with this water feature, and if it were in a bigger theatre, could it be on all three sides of the stage or whatnot, you know? But then I also love like the simplicity of the moments that we have done, and I love the last image of the sheets and like, yeah. So it's I guess the rain.
I think it is like. I think with a design like this, I think it's obviously it's super simple, and I think part of the credit as to how it's used is Paul and Emma, director and choreographer. And I think it's actually, I think people think it's a lot easier to make shows when there's not much stuff, when you're not doing lots of scenery and stuff. Actually, it's the complete opposite. It's so much harder to work out how you might, you know, I'm very here for like how little can you give an audience for them to fill the gaps themselves. I'm not very into kind of prescribed scenery or otherwise, in my opinion, just the film version. But we can just do it in REDCLIFFE. So a simple, I think it would always remain a simple thing. That's sort of what I like to do. But I think of the few things, I think the elements are a big thing. I think it's all been about elements, you know, like real wood and real water and real things, because that's sort of what it's like. If you go to REDCLIFFE, it's sort of as simple as that. And that's what this skyline is. It's like a skyline or waterline, or is that when you're stood there, and when I went there, you know, you look out in the docks and it's just kind of endless water, and like. And the question I sort of posed to Paul, the director, when we started designing it, was why wouldn't they just leave? Like, if this is the thing, why wouldn't they just go? And actually, restricting the space like this was part of that. They just can't. Do you know what I mean? There's nowhere else for them to go. So they can see a kind of endless sky. They can see something in the future, but they're stuck. So I think it would be keeping these elements really in whatever version we do on Broadway probably or something, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's heartbreaking. There are so many details I love. It's the names carved in at the top up here. What does it mean to you, and how important is it to you to have this have been, for both of you really, a true queer story, and to have their names carved into this set, to be telling this story to all these audience members?
I think that was your idea, right? This, so you should.
Yeah. Yeah, we were kind of, there's a bit in the script. When you're designing a show, you sort of make very clear early observations as to whether you're like, should we do video, should we do this, you know, so just really on a kind of budgetary level, just, oh, is that where we're going to put the money, or is that where we're going to, and there's loads of writing in the script about projection. I think in the other palace you did some projection or something,
Yeah.
didn't you? And I think I'm always keen to explore that, but Paul made a really good observation when we were designing this kind of roof piece, because that was kind of the idea, was that somehow this would feel a bit like their kind of time capsule, no one else's story could happen in this space. And Paul was like, well, what is the projection telling us? And it was ultimately telling us where we were, what year, and who it was about, and that it was a true story. And I think he was like, well, why don't we put their names on it? And actually then we went through this process of being like, well, I guess when you kind of carve your name in wood, in like trees when you're in love, or when you kind of burn names into tombstones and stuff, I think it says so many things in such a simple way. But it hits me every time. I mean, even watching it then, it's that line Mel says about it being in a British country, you suddenly have, you know, with that and comments like, you have these realizations that you're like, God, it's so true and it's so close, and it's still so current. And ultimately that's the beat of like the whole design, I guess, is that you were so keen in the script and in all our conversations to make sure people didn't think it was like an oldie story. That's what I love about Martin's costumes, and what I love about how kind of contemporary the space feels, and introducing like neon and things that just make us go, oh, it's not an old story, like it's now still.
Yeah. It's always been, the word has always been that I wanted this show to feel timeless, so you can watch it and it feels like you could kind of place it in any era, in any time. And I think that is achieved by the simplicity, not simplicity, but by the intelligent simplicity of the set design, by the costumes, which feel, you can't quite place them, they have their own like identity and a uniformity to it. But it also is a hint of period as well. So that was really important to me, because it runs through the script. The dialogue, the language is very contemporary at times as well. You know, and the music is blended between period and contemporary. So it made sense for that to trickle through in all of the elements of the piece. So yeah, timeless was the brief, wasn't it? I think you smashed it.
Jordan, we've seen you performing in so many huge West End productions. What's it like playing something in an intimate space, but this is an experience right now, where you're really encircled by the audience on three sides. Does it feel exposing in a different way? Does it feel comfortable? Is it sort of a hug, or is it a jury? What's happening?
For me, I way prefer the intimacy of this kind of space. Not only because when people laugh, you really hear it, whereas if you're in a bigger theatre, and it's maybe half full, it feels like, oh God, this is going down like a lead balloon. Even if it isn't, if people are still enjoying it, I think in a space like this, you feel everyone's reactions, and you can hear them crying, you can feel the energy so much more, and that, I'm addicted to that. In all honesty, when I'm in a show, I tend to not really see the people in the audience. I just kind of like switch it off and go into like a bit of my own world. But I do, yeah, there's something about this intimacy in this space that I love, and I think is something that I would love to, if we transfer somewhere, continue with, and always have that intimate feeling to it. It doesn't feel like, right now in its life, the kind of show that I feel like should be in a massive theatre. It feels like something that should always stay, like, 400, 500 seats-ish, intimate. So to answer your question, yeah, I enjoy the closeness of it. It's less intimidating than doing a show at like the Shaftesbury Theatre, or I don't know, I feel it's like, it is more of a hug, like you said, yeah.
You saw the show again this afternoon. Yeah. You've been doing the show now in performances continuously. What is revealing itself to you about this show? What's striking you about it that maybe you didn't notice the first time you saw it, or the first time that you did it and wrote it? What are your takeaways from today?
get such a joy because I've seen it a few times now, and I also like, no shade, but like I don't usually go back to shows after a press night. Do you know what I mean? I quite often that's kind of the end of the thing, and then the problem is when I watch it, I start going, oh God, I wish we'd done that. Oh, we should have done that. We should have done this. We should. And although I'm having those feelings with this in ways, do you know, you sort of feel the things you want to do or change. It's seeing the audience. Actually, I think that's part of what's so cool about the way this kind of light box stretches around. You can constantly see reactions. There's that line in it about the when you're in Redcliffe, you'll never be alone. And it was Paul on the opening night. Foster turned to me and was like, "I've just realised that entirely is what now these side seats are. You constantly get silhouettes of people. You can constantly see people's reactions. So I'm now feeling like that further version that you don't get when you're modelling it, and there's not even people in the model when you're looking at it. You're now sort of seeing it. You can clock the moments people start crying or the moments people laugh, and it gives you such a clear indicator of what works and what doesn't, and what people are catching on to."
Yeah. I'm trying to think of
my answer in terms of the design element. Okay. I think that what's been like fascinating about doing the show is we've had amazing audiences every day. Some audiences are much more reactive to other audiences, but what has always prevailed is by the time it gets to the end of the show, everyone has the same response. And so basically what I'm trying to say is like, even if there's an audience that feels like they're instantly on board and get the world and get the humour, if there's an audience that aren't so much like that, by the end of it, they're still always sobbing and they still are invested in the journey. And that's been really interesting for me as a writer to know that, like someone said to me the other day, like you can't hear a smile. So sometimes like we'll have audiences that are really laughing, like today's audience was fabulous. And then you might have an audience where it's a little bit more tame, and it's, for me as a writer, learning that like that doesn't mean they're not finding it funny or enjoying it. It's just people respond in different ways. I'm not like a laugh out loud person when I go to the theatre either. So for me, that's been a real lesson in like just trust that the material is always serving its purpose. Yeah.
I have an utterly silent laugh, so I'm useless to you.
You did make me so nervous because you were right behind me on press night, and I was like, "Is Mickey gonna like it? Is Mickey gonna like it? Is Mickey gonna like it?" And the whole time you were silent.
I was definitely laughing at Rebecca Locke, but it's nothing comes out. It's just silence. I like to make you a little bit nervous. It's fun. Do we have time for like one or two questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a yeah. Does anyone have it? Right here. Excellent t-shirt. Coming to you.
Hi, I'm Gerard. I'm from New York. I've seen you before. I think Jordan is right. You need more water. I do have an idea for this show because I'm the director. If you painted the floor blue as if it was water,
yeah.
it would include the audience. Like, I think the audience would tie into it better. It feels like you're walking off the stage when you walk off the stage. But you're not, because the blue is your home.
She disagrees. She disagrees.
It's about to get tense.
My question is, so this show was announced on the first day? Or is that
we just did one act.
You just did a whole act
Yeah.
at Turbine. I was like, how did they get a 2-act show in a year and a half, basically?
Yeah.
So it was just the first act, or
We just presented the first act at the beginning,
okay.
and
then at the other
Palace it was two acts.
Two.
Yeah.
That was confusing to me. I was thinking, right, a whole second act into this, or did he expand it because you had other ideas and you wanted to include them? So, did you have all the songs?
For the first time, what?
Not the first time when you went at the other.
The first time I literally had only written the first act.
So the first time was as part of a musical theatre festival, and you're only allowed to present one act of the show. So at that point I had only written the first act. I'd written the first act, and I'd written Hurricane, which is the song that Mother sings in the second act. And so that was all we presented. And then after that presentation is when I went away and worked on the second act and wrote the second act over the next coming months, and then we staged the full show. And then since then, for the last 2 years, I've just been like adjusting it, tweaking it, changing things, and now we're here, yeah.
Sorry, I'm
would so disagree of the stage, but that's good, it's personal opinion, but I love it, I love the ruddiness. I was just wondering, Cal and Andy, were you, not Cal, that was your other person, Georgia. I've seen you in Titanic, it's lovely. Were you there for casting? Did you have an idea of, because it's cast so beautifully, and I was so in love with the motherfucker and your siblings and whatever. Were you there? Did you know what you wanted?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so when I first started writing it, maybe like 3 weeks into writing it, I had kind of started to flesh out this mother character, and I sent Rebecca Locke a voice note, because I had worked with her previously on a workshop, and I said, I'm writing this thing, and I think we're hopefully going to workshop it in the next few months, and I can't like get you out of my head while I'm writing it, so I really did write that role around her. Like, that's the truth. I just, like, around her skill set, no one can do what Becky Locke does. She's absolutely incredible. How she can make you wet yourself and then break your heart within the space of an hour. So she was always a part of it. And then when we came to do the first workshop, I kind of went through a process of just, like, thinking of people that I had seen in shows and or had worked with and really respected, and so the first workshop was kind of reaching out to people that I had connections with, and they were all fantastic. And then for this process, when we had our director come on board, it was us sitting down together and just kind of brainstorming and working out who we can see in each of the roles. And we held some auditions for some of the roles, and then yeah, we have the cast that we have now, and they're all just unbelievably talented. I'm so blessed that they all said yes. So yeah, it's been, I'd say in the early days it was more me reaching out and asking the favours of people, because, you know, like, can you do it for like £100? Can you read the script? And yeah, so kind of a combination of me and the director, yeah.
I already asked Andrew if he'll set design my wedding, so this is how it works. This is how
Do you
it
like
works.
plastic bags?
Is that about time?
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. Thank you for seeing new queer musical theatre on a Tuesday afternoon. You beautiful and perhaps flexibly employed people. Lovely to have you. See you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.